Right, so here's another revision video for book 9, and this is the part in the poem where Adam and Eve have shameful, sinful, lustful sex. So we need to be aware of the differences between sex pre and post lapsarian. So if you missed this lesson completely, you might want to start with the retrieval practice and the 5 minutes looking at where sex is used in a doll's house. And for the class in front of me, I did miss one out yesterday, and it was Anne-Marie. So we looked at sex to do with the stockings, the Torvald's expectations of Nora. We looked at rank and the hereditary illness from his father's sexual misconduct. We looked, and so Anne-Marie is important because she's had to come and work for the Torvald family, the Helmer family, sorry, because she had an illegitimate child. I'm missing one. What was the other one from yesterday? Oh, was it after the Tarantella, and how Torvald has been looking at Nora as a mistress. Okay. And then we looked at these extracts from Gilberts' essay on the British Library. So again, have a read through of those. And now we're into the poem itself. So Adam has been having this inner monologue. He's been thinking about whether he should join with Eve in death or not. And in fact, he's decided that he can't live without her. She is flesh of his flesh, bone of his bone. And so we need to remember that he has willingly gone with that. And he starts to use a bit of a logical argument to suggest that actually, why would God, if we commit this sin, why would God kill us? Because we have been made, we have been dignified so high, set over all his works. If we die, then what he's created will die, because there will be literally nobody to look after Eden, subtly overlooking the fact that perhaps God could just make more humans. Just move that book out the way, Lucy. Stick it to the side. And then he says to Eve, I with thee have fixed my lot. Now that I would highlight that. It's an easy quotation to learn in terms of the kind of the deal, the bond that Adam is saying, I with thee have fixed my lot. Certain to undergo like doom, if like as in the same, I'll take the same fate as you. If death consort with thee, death is to me as life. So forcible within my heart, I feel the bond of nature draw me to my own in thee. For what thou art is mine. Our state cannot be severed. We are one flesh. To lose thee were to lose myself. So a lot of this language actually reminds me of Antonio in Twelfth Night. It's like this like highly romanticized language. It's the language of connection. So line 955, we're around. I got your message. And I'm recording this. Okay, just so because you missed the beginning. So he's absolutely determined that he is joined with Eve. And gladly of our union, hear thee speak, says Eve. I'm so glad to hear you say that. And she basically in this section is going to say, oh, isn't it great that my transgression has given us this opportunity to prove how much we love each other. One heart, one soul in both, whereof good proof this day affords, declaring thee resolved, Rather than death, or aught than death, more dread shall separate us, linked in love so dear, to undergo with me one guilt, one crime, if any be. It reminds me of Satan's, what is death? For of good still good proceeds, direct or by occasion hath presented this happy trial of thy love. So highlight that for me, happy trial. And we might want to pause here and think about the trial that Nora and Torvald's marriage will undergo, or even Krogstad and Christine's, what it has undergone. Because here Eve's scene is it brilliant, like we've had this trial, but you've proved how much you love me by saying you're going to join with me. Bit of a difference, isn't it, into how Torvald reacts. So you might again want to put in your margin or in your notes A04, contrast with Torvald's actions. So saying, she embraced him, and for joy tenderly wept, much won that he his love had so ennobled, as of choice to incur divine displeasure for her sake or death. There's a couple of ways of reading this. She's happy that he's made the choice. He's chosen her over everything. He is prepared to incur, to suffer divine displeasure. And Milton presents Eve as seeing Adam as noble because he's done this. But I can't help hearing a slight misogynist tone to this, that we're not meant to agree with Eve's delight. This is wrong, that she's had this effect on Adam. Again, that's just my AO5. So, even though Adam scrupled not to eat against his better knowledge, so he has the knowledge that he shouldn't, not deceived, but overcome with female charm. Oh, women and their female charm. If we go back to the very first slideshow that we looked at on book 9, who can remember how Eden was described? When dawn breaks, what are Adam and Eve and all the animals doing? Singing. They're giving their praise. There's even the smell of Eden is amazing. Everything is beautiful and harmonious. Look how it's changed. Earth trembled from her entrails, as again in pangs, and nature gave a second groan. Can anyone remember the quotation to describe what happens to the earth when Eve eats the apple? Earth felt the wound. So it's a wound. She's trembling from her entrails. I don't know if this is going a bit far, but I've got that sense of Earth kind of labouring to give birth to a new world. Things are going to change. Sky lowered, and muttering thunder, some sad drops wept at completing of the mortal sin original. No AO2 for this exam, but as I've said all along, you would not lose marks by saying Milton's use of pathetic fallacy underscores the effect that this has had on the physical setting, as the sky wept, right? And the personification of earth trembling. So don't, as long as AO2 never cancels out AO3 or AO4, we're okay. So what's the effect of Adam eating the apple going to be? Well, the false fruit is going to have the effect of making Adam lustful. We talked a bit about St. Paul the Apostle yesterday, didn't we? And about how lust is something sinful. Because I guess the idea is that when you lust, you are not in charge of your reason. It's like an animal, a base instinct. And men should be higher than that. So he casts lascivious eyes on her. She as wantonly repaid. And in lust, they burned, both of them. Don't worry, I won't do a dance. I won't act this bit out. Till Adam makes his move on Eve. And off they go and have sex in a shady nook. Now, what's interesting is that they've never felt the need before this to hide away when they have sex, because there's been nothing shameful about it. So they have sex, and they go to sleep. But their sleep is a grosser sleep, bred of unkindly fumes, and with conscious dreams encumbered. So they have a horrible night's sleep. And when they wake up, as from unrest, each the other viewing, soon found, and again I would highlight this quotation, their eyes how opened and their minds how darkened. They're seeing things differently for the first time, and it's not pleasant. You might want to link this across to Nora and that moment that she has when her eyes are opened, when she realizes that the miracle isn't going to happen. Innocence that as a veil had shadowed them from knowing ill was gone. Just confidence and native righteousness and honour from about them. So they'd lost their confidence in their actions, they'd lost the righteousness that they had to govern, and they'd lost their sense of honour as well. And they are naked, left to guilty shame. And that's the sex bit. So, what you need to do now is build up your quotation banks about sex, both in Paradise Lost and in A Doll's House. And if you look in the classroom, there are also 2 articles or essays that are on sex in Paradise Lost.